March 1st of 2004. That's when the feds indicted me. So I got sentenced to 25 years in federal custody. So the process was, you do the wrong thing, right? You commit, illegal crimes. It catches up to you.
Right.
So then you're gonna let it consume you, or you're gonna let it create you.
Right.
So I choose to let it create me.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to a seamless conversation on Seamless Money Secrets. Today, I bring forth to you another amazing individual that fits the script to our theme. And I met him at the Black Wealth Expo held by an organization called BECMA. It was so interesting how I met him, but we're going to get into that because, I don't know, energy is everything. And sometimes God's going to make you feel something of how you need to move. And you may not understand it, but you just got to listen and do it. And if I didn't act on what God put forth in front of me, I would have never met this amazing soul. So I'm going to let him tell you a little about himself. But welcome to Ray.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Crowd goes wild.
Thank you. So I'll start by saying, we met at the Black Wealth Expo, which was great. And I'm new to the area. I'm from New York, Peekskill, New York. And I've been on the area for 3 years. And I'm just learning and starting my own business, doing things to create generational wealth, and just trying to be financially free and, pass the generational wealth and pass the knowledge and learn and just do the best I can do to be successful. So I guess that's where it starts, and we'll go from there.
I love it. Yes, that's so awesome. Yo, this conversation is about to be so dope because who I'm dealing with here. He's a powerhouse, and don't let this meekness fool you. He's a powerhouse for sure. So I'm gonna tell him how we even bumped into each other. So myself, my friend, and my god sister was standing in a room where they was giving us lunch for the expo, and I was being picky per usual. That's my nature. I don't like to eat everything. I was biting cookies and didn't like that. Eating chips I didn't really want. Like, it was just a whole situation happening at the table, and I just looked over and I seen the back of his shirt. He was just walking. It was just a white shirt. I don't know if he had a hat on or whatever, but I just looked at him and was like, he just seemed like he didn't belong. And I was like, I just feel like he's somebody. I don't even know why. Like, and I was like, maybe he needs help. So then he turned around. I was like, you need help with something? I just felt this urge to ask because I needed to know. Mind you, I'm not staff for this event at all. I was actually a vendor there. And I'm over here acting like I'm staff. Like, do you need assistance? Like, I don't know where I was going to point him to, but I just felt like I needed to ask. And he was like, oh, yeah. Then he had on a powerful T-shirt. Y'all might know when I say it, but it was the assets over liabilities, which we know is from EYL. Shout out to those brothers, smart black young men, and I'm so proud of them. And so when I seen his show, I was like, oh, he might be with the team, because that particular event EYL spoke at, they was a keynote speaker. So I was like, he might actually be with the team. I ain't seen anybody else with that shirt on, mind you. This was like day 2 or something. So I'm like, he's like, oh, yeah. And then we just got to a conversation. We was probably talking for at least an hour or so.
Right.
I got him in trouble, too, because he was supposed to be... So you want to tell him, like, your relation to EYL, like that?
Oh, yeah. Definitely first big shout out to EYL, to Rashad and Troy. Yeah. Rashad's my first cousin. And that was his first time speaking in Boston. So I had been telling him since I've been up here, yes. I've been like, yo, you got to come to Boston because I seen it evolving. Because when I first moved up here, I used to wear the assets over liabilities shirts. And people would be like, oh, nice. And over the time, like the last 8 months, when I wear it, people be like, oh, I listen to them. So I always reach out to him when I talked to Rashad. I'm like, yo, you got to come up to Boston. You got to come up to Boston. I was at the casino, I want to say like maybe 2 months before they came up there, and I had on the Assets Overlap. I had on a hoodie, and like 20 people was asking me, talking to me, and that's when I really called him like, yo, you have to come up there. So it was a blessing that he ended up coming up there. And I didn't even know. He told me, he said, yo, I might be coming to Boston. And I'm like, all right, let me know, because I'll come there and support you. And I was going to, where was I going? Tennessee. I was going to Tennessee. And I was in the airport. I was at Logan Airport, and a lady that was working there was like, oh, they coming up here to speak. Because I had the shirt on at the airport. And I'm like, oh, all right. I called him and said, yo, you coming? So he gave me the information, and I came down to Black Wealth Expo, and I didn't know where I was at because they had took the passes. So I was looking for the pass to get in, so I had to give them my name, and then I ended up getting another pass, not knowing that they took the pass. So that's when we met, and you definitely asked me for help, and that's how the ball got rolling.
Yeah, it was funny because there was this girl. I know the girl from Beckma. She's on the staff for Beckma. I know her. So this whole time, they sent her to come get him to bring him backstage or to the green room or something like that, right? So we just literally standing at the top of the escalators and just talking, literally chopping it up the whole time. And I'm not thinking that he's like sending pictures because, you know, like Rashad would tell you, like, yo, send me a pic of where you at. Like, I'm like, yeah, we're in front of this sign. I'm like trying to help him, guide him to where we were standing, literally at the top of the stage. You couldn't miss us. And the girl was, I saw her standing over there, but I was like, I don't know why. I felt like it may have been her looking for you, but I was like, she ain't really asking around, and your shirt speaks for itself. So I was so confused at the time. So then he described what she had. I was like, oh, okay, so it is her. And then she was like, I was looking for you. So it was a whole thing. So then we stayed connected. He came into the section where all the vendors were. I showed love to everybody in there, and I think that's super powerful because a lot of people be all talk but no action, and you show that you were both. You're like, I'm gonna come in there and I'm gonna support. I love to support my people. So that was really dope. I appreciate you coming to my table. I don't sell anything tangible, but we had a conversation already. So I was like, you're gonna be in my life forever. So sorry for you if you try to get rid of me. Not happening. So this conversation is really profound because of your journey, what you shared, and I was like, well, the world should know how powerful you actually are. Because what I do, a lot of it, thank you. What I do, a lot of it is about understanding people's mindset around money and just their mindset, period. Because like I don't know if I said this in the last episode, but our longest standing relationship will forever be money, at any given point. And his journey is just powerful. So I want to start with, do you want to tell us, like, how was your relationship with money in the household, or conversations in the household growing up?
Well, it was mostly, I grew up in a single parent home. My dad and my mom, they didn't work out. So it was like, at the early age, I believe I was 2. I didn't really have any memory of my father until I was an adult, and it was around 30, and me and him had a conversation, and we started to learn each other. But growing up, it was just my mom, and, you know, my mother had 7 kids, 6 when I was growing up. Her 7th, my little brother, he came a little later when I was like 15. So my earliest memory of money in my household was my mother, because she was a hustler, right? We lived in Staten Island in the projects, right? And she worked. She made plates of food and sold them to everybody in the projects, right? She did whatever she could do. Whatever she can do to make ends meet, right? My mother did. And that evolved. You know, we moved out the projects and we moved to upstate New York, right? And when we were there, my mother owned a store, right? She did flea markets. She worked 2 or 3, 4 jobs. So and my interpretation from her money was, you know, having to hustle, right? Having to do many things that created and generated money so she could take care of all of us. So that was like my introduction to it. I didn't really get saved. My mother was good. She managed her money well. We always had, and even when we didn't have, we had, right? We weren't like, you didn't know that we were struggling, right? She did it. She was prideful, and not just prideful where, you need something but you don't ask, but she put all of it into her kids, right? Whatever she had to do, she did, so she didn't have to ask. Like, she was willing to work just so we had what we had, and work a lot, I remember, like, when I got to a teenager, my mother was working at a girls' like residential home for young teenagers, sort of like a Job Corps that they had. It was called Edwin Gould Academy in Spring Valley. And my mom would work this is before you can work like 3 shifts at a time. She would literally be working for like 3-4 days, And when she came home, it was like, the house better be clean, right? Dishes better be washed, right? And she gonna bring food, and she gonna cook, and she gonna sleep,
Right.
So that is basically what I got, like hard work, And then, you go to my aunts and my uncles who were really influential in my life because they helped. Whenever I was too much for her, she would call my uncles up. Rashad's father,
Oh, okay.
a few other uncles, my Uncle Rafiq, and they would come and be like, straighten me out, and give me that male discipline. So that was like the hard work portion of it was definitely, and, entrepreneurial, because she had her own store. And this is like the early 90s, she sold African clothing. She had her own store in Peekskill, so it was like, she was definitely, used to do flea markets on the weekends. She was definitely like an entrepreneurial spirit, So it kind of just passed it to me, like, through the hard work and her having her own.
I love that. That's very powerful. You said a couple of things I want to hop on to, because when you was like, she used to make plates and sell them in the hood, right? I could think of is when I was smaller, I used to live in this complex area. I want to say it's called Mission Park. I want to say it's Mission Park. And I remember the icy lady. Y'all had an icy lady?
Everybody had an ice cream truck.
What was your favorite flavor?
Cherry.
For real?
Yeah.
Yo, that always tasted like Tylenol to me, and I couldn't do it. So my favorite one was the coconut one that this lady would make. So I was just like, anytime I had a quarter,
right,
I walk down streets to figure out how
I do that, right? Yeah.
Give me a quarter on the ground so I can give me an icy.
Right.
Nah, but I think that's powerful that your mom set the tone in that particular way.
Right.
And then things changed at some point.
Right. And just to add to it, it led to us because, me and my brothers, we was 5 boys, 1 girl, right?
I was about to ask, like, what's the
5 boys, 1 girl at that point, and then my little brother came, right? And we used to follow her trend, right? We go collect cans, right, and go recycle them, and then get money to do, like you say, buy a bag of chips, little quarter water juices, stuff like that. We all did stuff together. We did our knucklehead stuff too together, but we followed her lead, So I guess your question was what changed. So it changed that, I became a teenager and I started looking up to people that were hustling, right? People that had a lot, people that had jewelry, that had cars, that had women, because that's what I wanted, right? I wanted to have a lot because now growing up, we had enough, we didn't have a lot. I wasn't spoiled, I was, I had, my mother made sure I had, but it wasn't. And then I wanted to get to a point where it was like, all right, Mom, you took care of me enough, right? So of course I went about it in the wrong manner. But it was watching her hustle with the plates of food, with the store, right? With just working 3-4 jobs, working 3-4 days. I took that as, all right, I got to hustle. But at that point in my life, it wasn't a legal hustle, it was an illegal hustle, right? So I started off selling weed, that's where it started. And then slowly, it turned to crack, and then that's when the jail time came, and it was just like, that's what, that was part of the process, right? So the process was you do the wrong thing, right? You commit, illegal crimes, it catches up to you. Right. So then you're going to let it consume you, or you're going to let it create you. Right. So I choose to let it create me. So I started, like I said, selling drugs when I was 15, and I went to jail a few times for like 6 months one time, and then like 8 months another time. And when I came home the second time, I was in like a boot camp I went to. They have in the state of New York. They have boot camps for like first time offenders, nonviolent. So I went up to the boot camp. It was still like being in the military, right? They woke you up at 5 o'clock, screaming and shouting, and you're squaring your corners. You got military creases in your pants, and you're making your bed with hospital corners, and you're shaving every day. It was just like being in a basic training in the military for 6 months.
Right.
So it taught me like a lot of discipline. I got my GED in there, and prior to going there, like I was like a successful drug dealer. I don't know how you consider that, but I would say success in the point of financial success, right? I was able to have things. I was able to have cars. I was able to have property, right? I was able to take care of the people around me, right? And when I went through that situation, it was a defining moment because my son was born while I was there, right? And he was a premature baby, right? My son's mother had him at 24 weeks, right? Wow. And he was born on Christmas, which was crazy, right? So he's born on Christmas, right? And I was in the boot camp, and he died on Easter Sunday. Oh, like so literally, like he was born on Christmas, died on Easter Sunday. But he was a blessing, right? Because he humbled me. He made me a priest. I never saw him. I never ever had I seen him in pictures. I was in prison, so the first time I saw him was at the funeral. Damn. And when I came down, they brought me down. I never forget the boot camp people it was their job to be hard, to, yell at you, to like push you, because they were trying to teach you never to come back here. Right. So I understood it, and that in the day that I was going to the funeral, you would think they would have some slack on me, and they wasn't. They was like, they came in rushing me, so I got dressed. I didn't make my bed. He's like, come on, we got to leave now. And then because I didn't make my bed, when I came back from the funeral, they made me make everybody's bed. Right? That's the kind of program it was. Like, they used to call him the drill instructor, right? He messed up everybody's bed and said, make everybody's bed. So I had to go make everybody's bed. And then because I didn't make my bed, I had they scored you every week. So you wear a red shirt. So I'm in the child hall that week, like eating on my knees. Like that's the program it was. It was very, very, I don't know if they outlawed it. I think they still have it, but it was definitely a lot of complaints. But through all that ridiculousness, right, I came home in 2003 with a whole different perspective, right? I went to college, Westchester Community College, business administration, right? I was like, to myself, I was done with the game because before I went to jail, I was like selling like major crack every day, riding around, 4 or 5 cell phones, jewelry, everything. And now I'm going to college every day, right? I hang around the same friends, and I have some affiliation, which ended up biting me in the butt. But I'm out declared because even when I came home and it got a little rough, I started selling a little weed, which was like nothing compared to what I used to do, just to pay my bills, pay my way through school, and it didn't require much, a day or two out the week. But to me, I'm like, I don't do nothing. Right. But, I ended up getting violated because I was on parole, and when I was supposed to go home, that's when the feds were there, and I got indicted with my brothers. We had a federal case it started out with a drug conspiracy, then it went to racketeering, and it was just a whole bunch. So the little bit of change that I made wasn't enough, right? So I was home for I got released July 3rd, 2003, and I violated my parole because I had a curfew violation on December 23rd, I believe, 2003. And then when I was supposed to go home on March 1st, that's when March 1st of 2004, that's when the feds indicted me. So I got sentenced to 25 years in federal custody. It was a long trial. Like, they started out, because I didn't really have nothing to do with it, but I had the affiliation, but they charged me for everything. So those times when I went to jail before, they charged me with those crimes, which they made it a racketeering enterprise, which meant that everything I did was part of the enterprise, which is ridiculous. But that's how they do, because now once you don't become an informant, you're the enemy. Right. And when you're the enemy, they go so hard, because it's like you're supposed to succumb to them, right? You're supposed to be like, yo, what do you want to know? And lie on people and do whatever. And when you don't do it, you're like, nah, I did the crime, I do the time. All right, whatever you got for me. So for most of the time during my pre-trial phase, because, all right, so the feds locked me up in 2004, and I didn't go to trial in 2009, which is a long, in a county jail. So now it's different. The county jail is different from the feds. Like the county jail is like, we were locked in like 19 hours a day, right? Just in your cell, you know.
Right.
They have like an hour rec. You get like 2 hours in a day in one day, and then, you know, it's like 4 hours one day and then like 5 hours the next day.
Yeah.
So it gave me a lot of time, which at first I didn't use the time wisely, right? I was mad, I was angry, I was, you know, fighting people.
So you was locked up for 5 years before it actually...
Before I even went to trial. Wow. Because they needed 5 years to build their case. So it started off as a drug case, and it went to the racketeering, and then it went to just ridiculousness, stuff from that people said, oh, I seen him over here at a shooting. Oh, let's charge him with that. Oh, he was driving. They shot at somebody. He was like, it just went to like fully just stories. And when I went to trial in 2009, well, to get to that point, right? So I had my moments where I was angry, where I was upset, where I, you know, used my aggression towards people who look like me, which was ridiculous, right? But I was young. And then I got to a point where I'm like, this isn't going away, right? This isn't getting better, right? They're not going to let me go home. They're not going to let me go back to school, right? I'm going to have to fight these people. You know, I'm going to have to, this is what my battles was with the United States government, the United States government, right? So it's not just New York, right? Or it's not just Westchester County. No, it's the whole United States government, right? So what put me through this time is that, you know, I started growing, right, in prison, like, right? And this is not prison, this is the county jail, but I started growing in the jail, right, where I'm starting to learn. I started to read everything. My mother was, like, my biggest supporter. Like, she sent us, because, you know, 4 of my brothers, it was 4 of us, right, and we're co-defendants.
Oh, so y'all all was in at
all was in at the same time, right?
Did y'all all get sentenced the same? Do you know?
Like, well, my brother, so, all right, my oldest brother is the only one that's still in jail. He's got life. Then I got the most time under him. I got 25 years. Then my brother Dawood, who was younger than my oldest brother, that's out of the ones who got locked up. Because my oldest never got locked up. So it's really the second oldest is the one that was incarcerated with us. Am I losing you?
No. I've put things in pictures in my head so I can make it make sense. So I'm analyzing. So
the second oldest down to me. So us 4 between, right? And then you got my sister, who's obviously. So it's just the middle 4. And so my brother got life. I got 25. My other brother got 17. And then my other brother got 10. So everybody, like my brother who got 10, he went first. They sentenced him first. And then my brother who got 17, he went after him because he copped out. And then I had to go to trial because they were trying to give me life. So I had to go to trial to get the 25 years. Like I had to fight for it, like a straight up battle to get 25 years. Then my brother went to trial. But he went to trial first. So I went to trial after him. So that's why I was like, and that's and part of the reason why I went to trial after him is because I had got so fed up with the whole situation because it was just so outrageous. Right?
It is.
It was so outrageous because I'm like, at the end of the day, when you look at my conspiracy, I was like the least one involved. Like everybody who walked in when we first got locked up was like, "Why are you here?" Right? Because everybody knew that I wasn't even on the path.
You didn't kill nobody. If you're out here really killing folks and walking out, like even attempting. Some situations happening that I read about, like that, like some. We'll get into that. It's just insane because you didn't harm anybody's life where it was like not by will. Like if somebody wants, it's like going into a freaking pharmacy and being like, I want to take ibuprofen, Tylenol, and some Benadryl at the same time. You can do that at will. So you could just we already know why that happened. We already know what transpired to even get you guys into that predicament. Because it's obvious. Y'all ain't do nothing fucking crazy. That's
and you see it because you can see it coming from down, right? So if you look at my entire family, my grandmother had 13 children, right? And you look at my entire family, right? I got cousins my cousin's Rashad, right? One of the founders of EYL, Earn Your Leisure, right? My other cousin Nadir, right? He's the top 5 developer in the United States.
Okay, so a little interruption because today's episode is sponsored by yours truly, Financial Therapy LLC. We are truly a unique financial firm, helping you pack your pockets whilst understanding your relationship to money. If you want to understand this ever-going relationship, we are here to help guide that exploration. Go to www.financialtherapyllc.com for more info. Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
So I can go on, like they all got degrees. Like the only people in my family that ever had any criminal experience is us. But if you look at it, right, the difference from us and my entire family is we're the only one that just my dad said about. Right? Everybody else, even if the marriage didn't work, there was a stepfather, there was a male figure in the household. Mostly. Now I got some cousins who didn't really, but it was so many of us. Think about it, my mom's got 6 of us, and there's no male figure in the house.
Do you feel like not having a male figure in the household contributed to
Definitely.
the downfall of you
Definitely.
guys and kind of shaped the path? So what would you tell all these grown men out here, pop, locking, and dropping, we know what that means, and not taking care of their responsibility because of their ego?
I mean, I would just say, just from my experience, one is that children are a blessing, right? Just from like a blessing, right? Like you take care of your child, you raise your child, and then when you're older, that child comes back, that child spends time with you, and you get to see your creation, and you get to carry your name out. Just plenty of blessings, right? You get to teach him things, you get to help him understand your mistakes and your journey, so he gets to learn off them. So he does. So the blessing is within a child. So I would say to neglect to do your responsibility as a parent is just whack. You're never gonna have any luck or any wealth, to me, because I feel like the wealth really comes from your family. Yeah, we could talk about money and finances, but that's secondary to your family. Because you got no family, you got no wealth. You just be miserable with a whole bunch of money.
Exactly. And
then in my situation was I met my father when I was in prison. When we finally connected, we had a good relationship for like my last 4 years in prison. And when I came home, he gave me a car. And our relationship was, I was already, good. I was just having a relationship to him because I didn't want to hold that. I wanted to understand him. I didn't want to be angry at him for my whole life. So I wanted to have a conversation with him and wanted to just forgive and let it go in the way my mom raised me. See, my mom ain't raised me talk about my dad. You know how you get some parents who they say, oh, your dad ain't nothing, your dad ain't nothing. You like your father, he ain't nothing. I never heard none of that. And then even all the things that he did to her, my mom didn't even tell me that. I learned a lot about my dad, his domestic ways, his abuse, his physical and verbal, like all that through my brother's trial. Because my brother, they were trying to give him the death penalty. So after he lost trial, he had a penalty phase. And the penalty phase is, why shouldn't he get the death penalty? And they literally mitigate your whole life, right? So they go through it and say, because of A, B, and C, he shouldn't get it. So they had to talk a lot about my brother's childhood and the things that he went through. And I read all the transcripts. So when I read all the transcript, I learned, because my mother had to come and testify about, how she raised him, right, and the pain that he had, that she saw. And my dad had to come and speak about, him departing, the things he did to lead to my brother's trauma. So when I read all that, I was like, oh, I never knew this, you know what I'm saying? So fast forward, I come home, my dad gave me a car, he gave me money. He asked me, hey, son, how much money you had? I had like 15 grand that I saved in prison from like literally, cooking plates for people, just literally working. I worked every day for 17 years that I did, and I saved. When I came home, I had a check from the government for $15,000. And my dad said, yo, how much you got? I told him, I said, I got $15,000. Like, I'm good. Like, I was telling him, like, I'm good, not knowing that he was going to be like, all right, come with me to the bank. And he gave me an envelope. And it was crazy. I didn't even look at the envelope for like a week because I was just getting home and had so much to do. And I came home married and just kids. My wife has 4 kids, 4 daughters. So I'm always busy. So I didn't even get a chance to look, right? And when I looked at it a week later, I'm like, it's a check for 15 grand.
Oh, wow.
So I was like,
he matched you?
He matched me, and I'm like, And I felt bad because I'm like, he probably thinks that I ain't care because I didn't call him. Like, I didn't, he gave me a check, he spent a day with me, and I didn't get a chance to get back to him. So when I opened the check, I called him, I said, Dad, thank you. And I even called my mom and told him, like, Mom, Dad gave me this. And even my mother, and they didn't speak in years. She'd reached out to him, said, give me his number, I want to thank him because, you know, what he did for you. And just speaking on him, he ended up having pancreatic cancer in 2022. So me and him, you know, developed a relationship since I was home, and he called me and said, son, you just come to the doctors. So I'm like, all right, I'll be down there, not thinking it's nothing. And when I went down there, the doctor told him that he had 6 months to live. So when the doctor told him that, they were like, you know what, you could either, you know, go to a nursing home or you can get, you know, hospice. Like, what do you want to do? And I interjected, like, without a thought, like, nah, he could come stay with me because I bought my own home up here, which I'll get to. But I'm like, nah, my father come stay with me. So he was like, surprise, and I took him that day and brought him, took his dog, you know, packed his stuff up and brought him up. And it was like, I brought him up at the perfect time because the minute he got up there, he really couldn't do anything. Right. He needed full care, and which I did, you know, happily for 3 weeks until he passed away. And then I had to set the funeral up, and go through all that. Of his last moments of his life, like, he was very thankful. Anytime I did anything for him, he thanked me. And, you know, he was living in my bed. He died in my bed, you know? And it was like, it was an experience because it showed life as a full circle. Like, even though he wasn't there for me in the beginning of my life, he tried to make it right. And I allowed him to make it right. And I was cool with where we were at when he passed. And I felt like that's how it's supposed to be. Like, your mother and father, they take care of you. They bring you into this world. And when a lot of times I see your mother and your father will take care of you your whole life. And then when they get older, you put them in a nursing home. And they die with strangers. And they have strangers take care of them. And I just feel like, now, like when me and my wife got married, I told her, like, listen, if any of our parents are sick, your mother, my mother, your dad, my dad, we're going to take care of them. The nursing home is out. They're going to come live with us, and one of us will work, one of us will figure it out, and that's just how it's going to go, you know? And it just so happened that my dad was first, you know what I'm saying? And we had him at the house, we took care of him, and, you know, he transitioned, you know.
I'm sorry that I was my condolences to you.
Thank you.
Because to be in a position to be open to the allowance of him, however he needed to show that, you know, his grace to you and saying, I know I wasn't there all these years, but I have this much I can give. I mean, it's not much, but it's something. And then to bring you in on a really, really, really big situation that, you know, maybe he called you there for moral support. And we know spirit. Spirit is real, man. I don't know. People be confused about their religion versus their spiritual world. And spirit is real. Like, he knew. It's like, I know my son gonna get it. And you stepped up. Check you. I'm telling you, didn't I tell you who this man was? Didn't I tell you guys? He's a powerhouse. Yo, like, come on, y'all can't sleep on him. Just just how that went, like, just how your brain works. I love it. It's beautiful. You have a beautiful mind.
Thank you.
While in jail, did you learn any valuable money lessons? Because you said that you had saved up $15,000 while in jail. How were you able to successfully get that done? Well,
so in jail, my cousin Rashad, who was like the financial genius, I call him. I used to read a lot of Dave Ramsey books, and I just was a worker, right? Because I knew at some point that that's not my life. Even though I got sentenced to 25 years, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to do 25 years in prison. I wrote motion after motion after motion. And the crazy part is, I used to write motions for people. So when I would write motions for people, they would get relief, and I would get no. And the last motion, which came from something that Trump did, so there was a law Obama passed about the crack ratio. Because when I got sentenced, it was 50 grams of crack, was 50 to 1. 1 gram of coke, it was 50 grams of crack. So it was basically, we know the reason for that. And Obama changed it to 280. Obama changed it to 28. So you needed a higher minimum. So I had 50 grams or more. That was like the max. Now it's 280 or more. That's why I was saying 280, and changed it down the ratio, so the guidelines changed. But it was only helping the people that were just getting arrested. So when Trump came into office, he was able to get it retroactive. So not only helped the people that were just getting arrested, but the people that had already been arrested, which was me. So when I went to trial, I beat a lot of the stuff. A lot of the stuff I got found not guilty. But they throw the kitchen sink at you and did something at the stick. Throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, something on the stick.
Especially if the feds doesn't want to lose.
So, and then when my record, so I was going to lose or something. So I ended up, one of the guys said I had a gun. So that violence, I had a violent on my jacket. Like, never got caught with a gun, nothing. Dude said he saw me with a gun. Right, enhanced, everything, ridiculous. So, and he was lying. At the end of the day, like right now, I could be like, right, and he was lying.
How would they have proven that? Right. That's another story.
Yeah. So, what do you call it? So when he passes in 18, I reached out because I had money saved at that point. So I'm like, I'm just gonna take my money. I'm gonna stop trying to write these motions because they ain't working. I'm gonna get an attorney. So I'm calling attorneys. I got my wife calling attorneys, and every attorney is like, "You got violence. They're not gonna give you no time off." Yes, you're right. The drug law changed, but my argument was like, yeah, but my crime was based on drugs. Yeah. So I started at a level in the feds levels. I ain't gonna get too heavy on it, but I started at a level 38, and now my levels are 32. 6 levels. So even if my guidelines were life, because that was my guidelines, it still wouldn't be life with the laws the way it is now versus the laws to how they were back in the day. Right. So I was telling people that even if you want to say I got violence, I'm still starting with the drugs. So I'm not at a 38 no more. I'm at a 32. So that's less time. I'm low on the guidelines. So even if, and it's the judge's discretion, nobody wanted to do it. So I said, and what's crazy? I was in a shoe at that point. So I said, man, I'm going to do it myself. I wrote the judge. I said, listen, this is what it is. And the judge ended up giving me some lawyers. I wrote the motion. I ended up having a guy in there who helped me. And the rest is history. I got lawyers. And they literally, I didn't even know. I was in New Orleans. No, I'm like Oakdale. I was in Oakdale, Louisiana, and they came to me to my son and said, we got 7 days to release you. So I didn't even know I was coming home. So that's why I was like, wow, because I was jailing. So had I known I was coming home, I probably would have saved more than 15 grand, right? But I didn't know I was coming home, right? So the question you asked me was how I was able to accumulate that. I was just doing, like, I would make wraps every weekend. I had a wrap business where we took a trash can. I wish I had one here to show you guys. We took
wrap? Like, what do you mean?
Like so it's like a tortilla. Like a tortilla.
So some food. I didn't know what. My mom was so else with a wrap. I was like, what I thought you was talking about like you was writing raps for folks.
Well, I was writing books, which I didn't talk about. So through that time, I wrote 12 books while I was in there, and I got 4 of them published. Now I didn't make any money off them because 3 times I got jerked it was just a bad deal. And I ended up not making nothing, but it was more. It helped me. It was more therapeutic, and it was just something that I'm proud of today. I got my books right now that I wrote, the ones that are published, like literally in my living room, on my bookshelf, because I kept like 20 books that I had in jail that I kept, and I read sometimes to go through them. I just keep them there for if I want to just sit down and read. I got books that I didn't even finish. So I say that to say. Damn, I forgot.
I'm sorry, because I know I messed you up with the wraps. You said you
all right. So all right. So there was a trash can, porcelain trash can, that you get somebody to cut in half.
You're gonna ask how that happened, but okay.
Right, you cut it in half, and then now you go to the kitchen, you buy grease, you use a stinger, which is an iron. So you know the part of the iron that you put on your clothes, you detach that. So you just got a plate, the steel plate, and you get the wire, and you connect the wire to the plate. And you plug it in the socket, and that plate gets hot. And you drop that plate into the grease, and now it makes the grease boil. And then now you take the tortillas, right? And you put meat, cheese, everything, and now you drop the tortillas in there, so you like frying food right in your room. But now you can't do that. They'll catch you because they'll try to say, "Oh, you're destructing. You create a fire." So you gotta like have the mad people watching out. It smells like grease. Imagine how it smells when you fry chicken.
Hold on, wait. First of all,
some people don't care. Then you gotta abduct the COs.
Yo, so how are you getting grease?
You gotta buy it from the kitchen, right? So now the people that work in the kitchen, they got access to all that. So now you give them stamps, which is the money in jail. You buy the grease, and then now once you got the kit, now you got everybody. You got 200 people in your unit. So now you do it on a football day, right? On Saturday, Sunday, everybody watching football. People coming to buy 2-3 wraps off you, right? $1 a piece, $2 a piece. So now you get, because now you got the variety. All the criminals are in one place, right? But when you come out here, you look at it, it's like there's way more criminals out here that need to be in that place that aren't in that place. Because at least you know what you're dealing with in there. But the level of creative people you meet, it's like somebody that can do everything.
Fast forward, you're out, you come out, you're in the world.
Came out in the world. A little hard to adapt at first, but I did it. I had like interviews like within. So when I hear people say, "Oh, I can't get a job," no, you don't want to work. Because I came out from prison, federal background, on federal probation, and I literally had an interview at Mavis. Well, it's called NTB up here. It's like the Mavis.
Okay, I know what you're saying.
Within like 3 days. But that was based off relations. I met somebody, and that's a powerful thing that if you watch EYO, they always say it. That it doesn't matter. You can have all the money in the world. If you ain't got no networking skills, you ain't got no relationships, just have all the money in the world by yourself, all the degrees by yourself. So I was able to call somebody and was getting interviews before I even had a car. Before my dad came up with the car, I already had interviews. And then when my dad came up with the car, I still couldn't technically drive it because I didn't have a license. Because I was going so long that my license expired. And when it expires, you got to do the whole process over with. So now I had to go wait online. First I had to get an ID first. Then once I got the ID, then I had old tickets from when I did have my license. I had to pay those and haunt them courtrooms down in New York. And then now I can get my permit. And then after I got my permit, then you got to get the license. So I had to go through the whole process. So I started out working at Amazon once I got my license and everything. And I was working 4 days a week with them, which wasn't enough because I was living with my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, and we were trying to get our own. It was a lot of us. We were all living in one. So I was like, and my dad kept telling me, like, you got to get them kids out of that house. You got to get them their own. So I was like, all right. So I did Amazon 4 days a week. I did DoorDash and Instacart the other 3 days a week. For like, I want to say a strong 18 months. Like a strong 18 months. And then, again, relationships. We couldn't get nobody to approve a mortgage for us because I hadn't had the 2-year work history that you needed to have. I only had like 19 months. And my wife didn't make enough by herself for us to get the house we wanted, right? The house that would have room for us. So I finally met a mortgage guy who was able to use my employment history from prison. Legally, like not even was able, because I worked in prison. He asked me, said, did you work in prison? Did you work before prison? Because everybody else I was telling I was in prison, they were looking at me like, and was able to, first he was trying to use my stuff before I went to prison. Before I went to prison, I was a bus monitor. Then he was like, I don't know if the underwriters are not going to approve this. And then he got my work history. I had to give him all my stuff from prison, my work history from prison. And we were able to get approved. The underwriter approved it. So we bought a house. That was like the first asset.
Out, like, wow.
Right. That was the first, like, part of the asset, right? So then I got the house. And all the while, I got to keep mentioning my cousin because he's busy, right? And I'm coming on fresh home, so I'm busy. Not as busy as he is, right? So when I call him, it's, yo, how you doing? Everything good? I never had the time to say, all right, what should I do financially?
Right.
But I didn't need that time because he's got a show, Market Monday, and if you follow him on his page, on his Instagram, right, and his Facebook, he's giving you all the game you need.
Literally.
So I watched it every day, every Market Monday I could watch, every time. I went to Event Fest, and he was like my GPS. Obviously, I'm working. I have the aspiration to be an entrepreneur because it's in my spirit from my mother, my DNA, and I knew what I wanted. I wanted to be my own boss. So I took all those and I watched him, and he literally took my vehicle to, Entrepreneur Street. Literally turn left, turn right, like a straight up GPS. Hey, cops coming, slow down. Like him and Troy with their shows, with his Instagram, with his Market Mondays, with me just going to Event Fest. I didn't even see him when I went to Event Fest. I was helping my brother sell his clothing line, which is this. This is my brother's shirt right here. Beautiful Nightmare. My brother owns his own clothing line. This is my friend's hat. Like I don't wear like when I first came home. Like I made it. That's why when I seen you and I went to support everybody, one day I was in Polo, right? I was going to buy some T-shirts. I know I'm all over the place, but
no, you're fine.
I was like,
it's okay.
I was in there and I was like, why am I buying a T-shirt when my little brother owns Beautiful Nightmare? My cousin owns Earn Your Leisure, right? Assets Over Liability. And then my friend owns Hustlers Vibes. And then I know like 5 other friends that got clothing lines. So I'm like, I don't even know Polo.
That
right?
part.
Yeah, I don't even know Polo. Why am I supporting Polo?
That part. I love that.
Right. So now, right. So I called my cousin.
Buying black.
Right. And I called my cousin that day when I seen him at the Black Wealth Expo. I told him that story, and I said, "Yo, I actually felt bad. I felt like I didn't believe in you because if you have a clothing line, if you have shirts, you have hoodies, why am I buying from anywhere else? It's just ridiculous. For what? So I can keep up with the Joneses, right? So what I can have? Nah, I'd rather wear my family stuff, and I'd rather pay for it. I don't want it for free. I don't want to say, hey, give me with a handout. So I walked out of Polo that day. I called my cousin Rashad's sister, Tuere, and I said, hey, listen, I need a bunch of stuff. And I got like 20 shirts and like 10 hoodies. So now, wherever me and my wife go, we got assets over liability. That's how the person told me at Boston. And then my brother, too. I only had like a few things of his. Now I got like my whole closet. It's full of his. Then my friend who got Hustler Vibes, this is his hat on. I got his stuff. And then slowly, what I do is when I get like nieces and nephews come to the house, I give them my old stuff, like my old, like the Polo stuff, the stuff that, you know, I give them all kind of stuff. And I tell my cousin, I'm like, man, I gotta start making belts. Yeah, I gotta start making. One of my friends makes socks, right? I wear socks. You know what I'm saying?
I love socks. I have a big fetish for
right.
socks.
So it's like, so it's like I want to, right. So that's why when I met you, I'm like, I'm going in here because I always go through that and it's intentional. And you know what I think it is, for real, while we're on this topic? I know me and you could talk all day. I don't mind if you want to talk all day. Like, okay. I feel like social media, and I know I probably, because I'm old school, you're going to say, oh, he's just blaming social media, right? But social media skips out the process, right? Yeah. So you'll see somebody on social media with a nice car, right, with nice clothes, and they'll be like chilling, living in life, whether it's some nice dope caption, right? And they'll be like, oh, look, he got money, he doing his thing, right? Or she doing her thing. Look at her, she got the nice, right? But what that person doesn't show you is the process that it took for them to get to that. And that's what I feel like should be on social media. Like, they should see you if you
struggling,
right?
The struggle need to be shown,
right?
I'm hardly on social media. I only post very rarely because that's not really my thing. Like, I be so focused on everything else happening in the background because I'm a one-man band on top of my strategic team, but everybody's not directly next to me. So I'm constantly have to do emails, make phone calls, structure stuff. I'm also a mom, a single mom. So I'm a single mom in my own household, but if their dad is involved, but that's going to be another topic because I'm going to tell y'all my story about, like, why he can't be in my household, right? Because the mental illness comes into play. Right. So understanding, like, the dynamics of, I be out here grinding, but it's the people who's behind the scene that people don't want to listen to the most. Right. And then the people who are in the scene, they're ready to listen to, but could get scammed just as easily. Right. So it's like, when I'm out here really trying to put in the work and talk to people and do whatever it is that needs to get done to help us grow, because again, we've evolved. You mentioned it. Right. We went from the Nokia, Nextels, like it's evolved. So people need to evolve in their way of thinking about money. Right. And they need to evolve in thinking about their way of life. Right. Because I be on social media and I see all these ads and stuff. It's overwhelming. Right. I don't know how people be like, oh, I'm gonna take that class because I want those whatever Girbo sneakers or whatever. Right. I'm like, I don't even know how to spell Girbo, first of all, so there's no reason for me to want to do that. And then my car, right? Like, I was thinking about that because people are like, unfortunately, you have to have an image. I'm like, I don't have to do shit. Right. Because I don't prove nothing to nobody. It's either you're going to take this goddamn knowledge or you're not. That's not on me. That's a you problem. Right. And first of all, I don't even know enough about cars to be out here trying to floss for nobody. Right. Let me be driving something. First of all, I don't know how to operate. Right. I don't need bells and whistles. Right. I hear that shit in Christmas. Right. That's my time. Right. But thank you. I'm so
you're welcome. You're welcome. You gotta get me back because we didn't even go into nothing. We didn't even go to life insurance.
I know that's gonna be the next topic because right now this theme is locked up to life changer. Right. And you're a life changer because you just spit some seamless money secrets that people needed to hear. Right. About your journey. Your journey is so important. Right. And shout out to Rashad and the E-Wild crews. that just
Shout
out
to
here
them.
educating, doing the same thing, targeting our people and making us think differently about how we're moving.
Right.
You started a trend and I'm in the background following behind you in a different way. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you for bringing this young man into my world. Thank universe, God, angels and ancestors, because this was a dope conversation. I think you just gave people what they needed, for sure. Even if they don't think they needed it, trust me, it's going to seep in tonight.
Right, later on. And I want to thank you too, right? Because I want to thank you for having me up here, for giving me the opportunity to share my, my vision, right? To share what I went through, to share my process. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like it's important, because a lot of people out here make excuses, right? Mm-hmm. And look, right, we talked about how I was in prison, using a porcelain trash can, right, to fry wraps and to make money, to be independent, to have it, and not just to make it, to spend it, right, to make it and just put it in an account for whenever day I got released, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like nothing stops you from doing what you want to do. Not even prison.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Not even prison. Like so it's like, but I definitely want to thank you. I appreciate you. I'll come back. I would love to come back. And
yeah, we're going to cookouts and everything together.
Yeah. whatever you got going on, whatever's, because I want to support you and I want to support what you're doing. And, that's how you network, right? Because together we're better together than we are by ourselves.
You gotta let everybody know how to get in contact with you, and if you want to drop the merch, the people who's in charge of the merch you got on and the clothing that you got on right now, we could drop them too.
All right, so first the hat is my man Freaky Vibes. It's called Vibes Wear. Vibes Wear Instagram. I think it's Vibes Wear 203 on Facebook, and then Vibes Wear on Instagram. And he got his own shop. You could Google him, Vibes Wear. It's in New Haven. The shirt, Beautiful Nightmares, my little brothers. You can see Beautiful Nightmare Instagram, NYC. He's got everything. His stuff is good too. It's not just his sweatshirts, everything. He's not just because he's my little brother. I actually like his clothing. And my Instagram is _Ray82 every day.
That's RAY, y'all. RAY. So, thank you. So you're a fucking gem. You are a gem for sure. I'm grateful, and I know the people are grateful. We out here highlighting those who were locked up, came out, made a change in their own life based off of that journey that one would think will hold someone back, but you're gonna be able to get that and have your life change, because they are life changers for sure. So till next time. Sorry, was that too much? Sorry, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to season 1 of Seamless Money Secrets. I hope you guys took away a multitude of information and you were listening hard enough to retain some secrets. I learned a lot in those interviews, so I'm sure you guys will too. These things will be out for the world to have, hopefully forever. Tune in. This is not the end of season 1, actually. We just gave you a little hors d'oeuvre of what Seamless Money Secrets is all about. We about to go in part 2 with some more heavy hitters involved in the whole process when somebody gets taken from their family, not by way of death. So I want you guys to stick to this channel, subscribe, hit that like button, do all the things you're supposed to do when it comes down to this whole ordeal, when you want to know what's happening next. Follow me on social media. That's where I will place a lot of my upcoming events. Go on my website, www.financialtherapyllc.com. You'll find things there as well, but we don't want to keep you out of the loop. Everybody has a money story. You have a money story. Let's get this information. It's free. Tune in next time, part 2, season 1, coming soon.